So as a child, I grew up with real pinball machines. Now you're wondering, why does Wicked has a virtual pinball machine? And why not an original machine? That is quite simple. Like, original machines are super expensive and the virtual technology has become so good that it almost feels like the authentic experience, in my opinion. But in this video we are going to explain what you need to do about getting into the virtual pinball scene, because this is a gigantic rabbit hole that I have been in the last couple of 2 years, and I can say it has its ups and downs. I even had reached the point that I wanted to sell a machine because I was completely done with this. But I'm still very happy that I didn't decide to sell it off and just going to enjoy some virtual pinball, because in the end I'm always going to be a fan of pinball in general. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video we are going to take a close look at my virtual pinball machine, the 4K beast of a machine that I'm having and playing around for 2 years. But the reason I had basically wanted to dive into this rabbit hole, because I got a lot of help from a couple of people helping me with this machine. So first of all, I bought the kit from Dragonfly Amusement, and if you're interested in something like this, I think he still has a couple of these kits for sale. And think about the wood. You can basically buy it completely in DIY. You can have this cabinet itself assembled. There are a lot of different options. But the most important thing, getting into virtual pinball, the hardware side, is quite expensive when you need to buy all of these parts. And the software, it's amazing to play, what we're going to talk about later in this video. But oh man, it's a freaking nightmare when it comes to the software. Why is this? So why this is, you ask? It's quite simple. Because it works with a lot of programs, emulators and the front end, and the learning curve for understanding how everything works is quite high. So that's something you need to take consideration. Okay, so nevertheless, I wanted to take a close look at my machine, show you the inside, how everything works, what you at least need to get when it comes to the hardware specs. So let's go on with the show and let's take a close look at the inside first. Alright, so the first thing, it was a little bit of a bummer, is that when I was using this device for a very long time, and the main reason I basically want to sell it off, because after working so much at this cabinet, my mainboard got fried. Yup, my mainboard died off in combination with my SSD and all the freaking data and settings. So it was such a bummer after having a lot of fun with this machine. And yeah, so the first thing I needed to do is get this thing back together. I just need to get myself some new hardware. I just want to give it one single try just to see if I can get this thing working again. But in the meantime, let's remove the screen, the glass, and let's clean everything, because it was quite filthy. A lot of dust did get under the glass somehow. And let's remove everything. The SSD need to be removed, the cable tree, the power supply, everything was going to be upgraded in this video. The power supply died off, and of course the main board was also fried. In my opinion, a big bummer, because this 4 series Intel was working just fine before my power supply fried it. It's in 4 series, it's in 4460 i5, if I'm saying it correctly. Comes with a special cooling for good cooling, because it's very necessary, especially in an enclosed casing like this. And of course we are going to, at the left side, the GTX 1660, was no harm down there, so we're going to use it one again. So we're going to replace the main board first. And we're going to replace this bad boy, the Cooler Master 650 watts. I really personally love these power supplies, but we're going to replace it with a Be Quiet. So we're going all out with this one. Okay, so I went to my local shop, and guess what, they had a 9 series laying around. So when making this video, already having a 12 series, so this thing is already retro, if you ask me. But I'm more the previous board was just powerful enough, so this i5 9th generation is basically overkill. Okay, so I did a completely assemble video about this. We're going to get ourselves 16 GB of DDR4. And yeah, we're going to get ourselves an overkill Skype Million gigantic cooler of a beast. And the reason I choose for this, simply because in the enclosure of the virtual pinball machine, it's going to get quite hot. And we're also going to talk about the cooling, what I'm using. But again, I love big coolers. But next up, we're going to replace the Cooler Master 650 watts. Yep, and you can see the cable management, yeah, that was absolutely done amazing. But yeah, we need to destroy it, so we need to remove every single tie wrap. And we need to get ourselves everything loose so we can replace it with the Be Quiet. The Be Quiet power supply we'll use will be a modular version, so we can basically replace the power supply without swapping out the cables. But yeah, the cables are everywhere, so we also need to remove the encoder board. It's not a big of a deal, but it's something we just need to do and we need to handle. Okay, so we need to remove a couple of cables so we can reach the cables or the power supply cables over there. But okay, so let's talk about the power supply. So I'm just going to be saying up front, this Dark Power 12 850 watt is absolutely overkill for what I'm going to use with this virtual pinball machine. But the reason I'm chose for the Be Quiet, and no, this video isn't sponsored by Be Quiet, I'm a big fan of them. Like my first PC I started rendering with YouTube got on Be Quiet, and Be Quiet is absolutely very quiet. But beside that, like the specification is very nice, and with this version we're going to get ourselves a lot of cables, like a lot of different ones. What I do like about the more expensive version from Be Quiet, the cables are like freaking long. So we no need to have like the mumbo jumbo with extender cables. You have this problem when you're building yourself like a PC inside this gigantic case. And yeah, the power supply of Be Quiet, I think this thing weighs around 2 kilograms alone. So this thing is like a freaking beast. Another thing I like about it is like the power output of this thing is absolutely crazy. So this thing is built for SLI, you can build yourself some crazy things with. But what I do like about it, that we're going to get every single cable that I'm going to need for this. So after putting this thing inside of the machine itself, here you can see like it looks way better now. And it looks almost the same. But what I like about it, you can basically don't connect the cables that you don't need. Oh man, modular power supplies, I love it. So everything has been assembled. But what I also did with this machine is not only like adding a new mainboard, CPU, RAM and a power supply, I also upgraded some things with the machine itself. And that is what we're going to talk about, because I did made some minor improvements. Okay guys, so let's do a quick recap about the cabinet itself, what I'm using and what did I change out. So to begin with, I am using this beautiful 32-inch LG gaming monitor. And the reason why I'm using this, because it has a very nice IPS panel in combination with an LCD that will be like emulating the DMD. And of course we're going to get ourselves a back box. But okay, so the LG UHD monitor is in 4K resolution, and with the 4K that makes this thing freaking awesome. So we're not going to use the monitor as a monitor because we're going to slap it in my virtual pinball. I did a separate review about this monitor. This thing had a lot of crazy settings when it comes to FPS. So especially for pinball, where we need to have like a fast refresh rate, we don't have all of the issues with basic cheap monitors. I love this monitor, the colors, everything. It looks beautiful. And that's something what I find very important, because this is the most important element beside having a good PC inside, but having a monitor inside that has a beautiful view angle, IPS, super colorful, that will give the ultimate virtual pinball experience. So I think this LG monitor is just perfect for this cabinet that I have built. But okay, so what are we going to get more? So here we're going to get a DMD and a back box. So the DMD, there I did the first change. The silver frame itself, I didn't really hate it. But after playing around with a couple of years with this machine, I started to get annoyed by it. So I just changed it out, like we did give it a quick repaint, and when it's black now, in combination with the cabinet, it looks so much better now. Alright, so let's take a close look at the control panel. Here at the front we're going to get 4 buttons. This is for navigating through the pin and popper menu, and that's nothing has been changed out. Then we're going to get the lunge ball that's needed for some games, and the plunger. So the plunger is working perfectly. Like this is absolutely accurate, and it can give you like amazing trick shots. The plunger is just something that gives a pinball machine the special touch, giving like the control of basically giving the perfect lunge ball. And that's what I love about it. In combination with the software, they did an amazing job. Okay, so next up, it will be connected all with this special encoder board. Take consideration, I have an older model. Now after 2 years, there has been a revision of this. So for example, the gyro is inside the board itself, and with the new version it's going to be in the plunger. But in the end, this brand itself makes all kinds of awesome things that you can put in a virtual pinball machine and will give you the ultimate experience. And again, it's crazy expensive, because the encoder board, but also the plunger, everything you need to buy is absolutely crazy. But nevertheless, what you're going to get at the left here, I have chosen for the original pinball buttons, not like the Samba clones you have seen with sharpened products. Like we're going to get a quite long travel, but what I like about it, it has like the authentic like switches from a real arcade pinball machine. So we're going to get the authentic feeling too. At the bottom we're going to get 2 micro switches. It's basically for turning a system on and off and having the option to reset. The spaghetti of cables, where you can see like everything comes to the PC here. The 3 monitors, but also the audio out. So what I changed out with this is a very important element. By the way, I removed all of the locks because I found them really annoying. And it's not going to be like putting somewhere that I want to make money. It's like being in my home. So I just want to open it when I need it. Using 380mm fans. And the reason why, because I needed to have a lot of air cooling. And another thing we changed out is getting two gigantic holes in the bottom. And the reason why is when I'm basically turning on the system, you can basically feel the air is like sucking in through the casing itself, but it didn't have a lot of intake, so we need to have some extra holes for the intake. And I can say like it gives a big advantage with cooling the internal components, because that is really necessary. So next up on the list I changed out is maybe something weird, but I just feel the need to do it. And the reason is I want to get a new amplifier, is having one was not good enough. So basically I connected the subwoofer and the two speakers basically on two channels. And that's not possible because I was completely losing my stereo effect. So this time I basically used two amplifiers. These things are dirty cheap and I couldn't find a high quality one that basically supports 4-channel. Both will be connected with a separate power supply of 5 amp, so that's more than powerful enough. Again, it's slightly overkill, but what we're going to get this time is we're going to get two amplifiers over here after door number 1. The top one will be for the speakers and basically for the, let's say, the mid and the high. And yeah, the two speakers over here are like super good quality. The mid and high is perfect. There's absolutely no bass because these were not made for producing bass, and the bass will be made by the subwoofer. And this one will be connected with the bottom one. So this is basically what we did. So we're going to get better quality, we're going to get stereo sound, and this gigantic woofer that even produces over 140 watts is like more than enough. Again, it's slightly overkill for this cabinet. Another thing I didn't like are the audio onboard cards. So we're going to change it out with an Asus Sonar STX. It's slightly overkill, but this is a stereo audio hi-fi card, and we're going to use it with two separate amplifiers. Yeah, so we can basically like change everything out, give it slightly more bass, more stereo, and in combination with the Sonar STX, it's going to be an amazing audio experience. But okay, enough about specifications. Let's talk about the virtual pinball experience. First, the best, Virtual Pinball 10. This is for me like getting the authentic experience, and it looks amazing. This is basically where you're building such an expensive machine for. It costs a lot of money, but the result in the end is absolutely amazing. So let's try a quick gameplay.
Go man.
An old one is Virtual Pinball 9, the previous piece of software. It still looks okay, in my opinion, fun games, but it doesn't look that visual perfect.
James Bond.
Of course, we're going to get the old school Future Pinball. These tables look pretty damn hideous when you're looking at the VPX 9 or the 10. But I must say there are some fun games that I really love. Games that has a lot of fun to play because they are so basic. Not like Windows XP basic and not like this Adams family, because if you're having the VPX 10, you don't even want to try the Virtual Pinball. But let's take a close look at one game I really love of Future Pinball.
Welcome to nowhere, pussycat. Shoot the blinking shots, kiddo.
It's not over yet.
And if you're going to connect yourself the machine with your Steam Pinball FX account, you can even play some Pinball FX games. These are pretty damn awesome and a lot of fun to play. I also played it with the Sharpen tables. But when you connect them with your Steam account, in Steam you need to buy all of these tables separately. So it's going to be a very expensive thing besides building a virtual pinball machine.
We'll do better next time.
Wappy wobble.
But okay guys, so this is what we're going to get with the virtual pinball experience. I really love this machine again. Like with the minor improvements, it got better cooling, better audio, and playing these games is such a blast. Let me know in the comments what you think of this, what do you think of virtual pinball in general. Well, thank you for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become one of the Wicked family, and I will see you in the next video.